because, you know, beneficiaries, Chewie, have had it too damn good for too damn long. And anything in this country we can do to take those beneficiaries down a peg or two, I think we definitely should.
Back here, thousands of low-income households will be financially worse off next year as the government moves to change the decades-old rules regarding borders. The minister in charge, Louise Upston, says she's just fixing an anomaly, but the Greens say there's no justification for it. Here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
Don't you love that? Just fixing a 30-plus year anomaly. It's just an anomaly. It should never have been like this for the past 30-plus years. And by the way, we're going to make $150 million out of it. I nearly messaged Ricardo today, but this is a great. You watch Ricardo Menendez march in the actual house. What he says, it's pretty funny.
In the 1990s, State House tenants got a tiny perk. They could take in 1 or 2 boarders to help out with costs and ensure empty rooms were utilised, and authorities wouldn't factor in the income. Fast forward to today, and the government's saying no more.
We want to make sure that the welfare system is fairer and consistent.
Are you saying what to the change or what to that rule?
I'm saying what to the rule.
Yeah, that's always been the way.
These are people that are living in public housing while we have a housing crisis, and the government is saying, no, don't house people in the public housing.
So there's several, we'll go through the whole thing, but there's several layers to this. Yes. So obviously the obvious question is and it's not just state tenants, it's any beneficiary really, who has a boarder, doesn't get, because it's hard to go, well, if you're a boarder, that means you're doing meals as well and electricity and one. So it's hard to get all those things. What is it exactly? So you can have boarders. So if they're not flatmates, if they're boarders, it doesn't come in. It's the same for IRD. It's not considered income for the IRD either. Now they're going to take that away, and it's still unclear, is that going to come away from everybody? Like, will it start to be income for IRD as well? Or is it just from beneficiaries? Because she's talking about the welfare system here, which is a lovely Margaret Thatcher type phrase. But the flip side, Chewie, is people do this. They put themselves out. They make their living experience less comfortable for a small perk. If they don't have that perk anymore, 7,000 households might say to those boarders, yeah, no, we're not going to have boarders anymore. And then where are those 7,000 people going? Maybe more. Maybe it's more like 10,000 people, because you might have some of those houses might have 2 boarders. Where are those 10,000 people now going to go? So this government's decision is going to hurt the most vulnerable households in New Zealand, and possibly vulnerable people who, I mean, a boarder to a flatmate is very different. Often boarders are people who are they need to be a bit tighter with their money. It's a better deal to board and get your meals and stuff. So it could also impact them. It could be a really massively flow-on effect legislative change. And I think that's why Ricardo, let's just say, goes off his head a fair bit. Let's keep listening.
Soon all boarders' income will be taken into account before housing allowances are calculated.
See, they've just said housing allowance. So they haven't actually said, and this is going to include house owners who have boarders, for income. So it might literally just be slamming beneficiaries who get a housing allowance, but leaving the wealthy homeowners who choose to have a boarder all alone. Unclear on that yet, but they're not talking about homeowners and income. They're talking about beneficiaries and housing allowances.
Fairer, so that all income is taken into consideration for housing assistance.
It saves the government $150 million over 4 years. But officials warned it will leave about 7,000 households who have a boarder and receive the accommodation supplement $100 a week worse off on average. And more than 6,000 in public housing will pay an extra $132 a week. That analysis sparking this onslaught.
There's only one way to explain the intent of this bill, and this is because Minister Louise Upston's heart is rotten to the core.
And he's not backing down.
How else can you explain taking away $100 on average each week from some of our poorest? There's no justification for this.
I'm more than happy to debate the policy, but I'm not going to stoop to levels of personal attack.
The Greens say it's the poor being attacked.
Would you rather have someone call you hurty words, or be a vulnerable person who's either losing $100 a week or in the other instance, paying an extra $132 a week. So this is either going to cause you $5,000 worth of hardship a year, or you're more worried about the hurty word that Ricardo just called you. You know, I think I know what I'd be more worried about, what I am more worried about.
Tact.
The $100 may not mean a lot for a wealthy minister, but it's actually a lifeline for some of our poorest.
This youth advocate has grave concerns.
If you are receiving an accommodation...
Can I just say, I was looking away from the screen when I watched this tonight, and I heard them say youth advocate, and I went, oh, it'll be Aaron. Looked at the screen, it's Aaron. He is their one-stop go-to youth advocate at the moment, which is great. No problems.
Supplement. It means you're already struggling to be able to pay rent. It means that financially you're already in a really difficult position.
There are fears this change could reduce the incentive for people to take in boarders.
Exactly.
One of the core places where young people find shelter at the moment is through boarding arrangements, and so this will have a huge impact on them.
Worried the removal of the border perk could fuel further homelessness when it comes into effect next year. Benedict Collins.
So let's smash those beneficiaries who are getting a housing allowance. Let's make it more likely that there won't be as many boarding opportunities for the people who are more likely struggling than not to have to be boarders, because boarders typically are living more inexpensively because food is included. And let's save $150 million. But we're going to call that making it fair for everyone on welfare, Chewie. That's what we're going to call it.
I am stunned at the meanness of this.
Yeah.
The clear swipe at people that, like, with everything else that is going on, with how much groceries cost at the moment, with how much power costs at the moment, all of that those sort of things, that these ghouls think that this is a good way to save $150 million. This is the easiest place that they can pick this up.
I wasn't watching. My camera just went crazy. Yeah, I mean, what else is it? I mean, every decision...
There's nowhere else.
Every decision these guys are making at the moment ends up with a line at the end that says, which saved them X amount. So if every decision they're making is has the tagline, which saves them X amount, then what we're doing is we're figuring out they're doing this to save X amount.
And they're going to sit there and say, we're saving the taxpayer money. These people are taxpayers as well. This is what I don't understand, right? Is they pay tax, they pay market rate, they don't get any deals on power or growth, or they're one of the tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are reduced to using food banks regularly.
Yeah.
And they're going to take a little bit of side income off them, which is going to affect what? They're not going to be able to pay their market rents to the government, or they're not going to be able to feed themselves properly, or that'll lead them to asking wins for more food vouchers or emergency help, or that sort of, like, this government is so short-sighted, and it's just like, well, this is the situation as it stands here. We have found a way to be a bigger pack of cunts to people that can't defend themselves, so we're going to go that way. It's fairer for all New Zealanders. It's real funny when these guys want to save some money that they always go to the bad part of town.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's National's fucking piggy bank right there.
Yeah.
Let's pop down to the State House area and fucking upend some beneficiaries. See what change falls out of it. The other side of town loves it when we do it.
Now,
loves it.
They've talked about state houses there, right? But this is a benefit that everybody gets. You can be a millionaire, you can be a Luxon and decide that, your niece is going to come and live with you as a boarder because she's going to a local university, and she pays you $200 a week board, and that's tax free. That doesn't get included. IRD doesn't look at that as taxable income. So you can be a homeowner and do this. The flip side of that is there are beneficiaries, obviously, who own homes with mortgages. They need to pay them. they've talked about state housing tenants. I'm assuming. Are you taking the screen off me, Chewie? That's the screen that I've got up. Do you want it?
No, that's really strange. I was just queuing up an image and it did that. Yeah.
There is lost my train of thought. Who own beneficiaries who own homes as well. They can also use this. Now, what the story has said is state housing tenants. I'm actually assuming that it includes all beneficiaries, because that would be even stranger if just those in state houses got that cut off, but beneficiaries who are paying a mortgage were still able to do it. Or a beneficiary who lives who rents a market rent 3-bedroom house and chooses to have 2 boarders. So it's a landlord's house, but they're renting it privately and paying. I'm assuming it's just going to be across all beneficiaries, because to do it any other way would seem even logistically harder. But then again, when is logistically harder stop this government doing anything horrific? You know?
It's just amazing how deep the government can reach into a beneficiary's life.
Yeah, it's true.
At almost a drop of a hat. And it might seem like a small thing, but for someone on a benefit, $100 gone a week, that's a big percentage of your weekly income.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I mean, like, my understanding, I've never been in one. My understanding is if you're in a state house, you pay a percentage of your income, and that's how they work out what it's going to be. And obviously that means you pay less rent, but then, like they said in the story, a little perk on the side would be you could have a boarder. So you're basically then becoming, your job, on some level, your job is to be I actually worked at a boarding school. They were called boarding masters, but as a boarding house operator on some level, in a very minor way, that becomes part of your job, and you get a little perk for it. This government seems to be the government of no perks unless they're for the Prime Minister and what he's entitled to. He makes sure he gets. But anyone else getting a perk, especially a beneficiary or a lower income New Zealander or a brown New Zealander, those little perks or entitlements seem to be going away more and more and more, Chewie.
Yeah, this is just really disheartening to hear. Like every little pinprick idea from this pack of pricks seems to just be punching down. In the first instance, it is their first. It's their go-to. Like we haven't seen anybody clamping down on tax fraud. We haven't seen anybody going on a jihad against people that are skirting their obligations, again, at the top end of town.
Well, hang on a sec, because I think Rawiri said on Tuesday night, $7 billion a year is in legal tax not being paid. Do you think it's going to make more money going out, affecting these 7,000 beneficiaries' households, or going, as you say, up the top end to try and refund $7 billion a year of tax not being paid? I know where I'd be looking. If it was a business, Mr. Luxon, hang on. If it was a business, Mr. Luxon, would you go after the $7 billion or the 70 million? What would you go after? Which client would you like, the $7 billion or the 70 million? Just putting it out there.